Hi guys, Mulos here. So today's video I am going to talk about starting an AI company in Zambia. So basically what it is I've registered a business for IT services, and some of it is going to include AI services. I thought, why not make a video on the process, the challenges, the opportunities, challenges, and all other things that I encounter. At the end of the day, the market is huge, guys. What I've learned from making videos and sharing information online is that you don't actually kill your business doing such. The market is huge enough. This is a hobby. I enjoy making content. I enjoy researching things, and when I research things and find out that they do work and all, and I share that information, it brings me some joy. So it doesn't really cost me anything to share this information. So anyways, back to this, guys. I've been using AI for quite a while, and it's created quite a it's helped me solve a lot of problems that I have. It's helped me better manage my time, helped me do research, and helped me automate some processes along the way. And then along the way, I've also learned that a lot of what I thought was AI, or what a lot of us think is AI, is actually not AI. And basically, I'm going to talk a lot about AI in the coming weeks and months and all. But in this particular video, we're talking about registering a company in Zambia that's going to deal with IT, services, and a lot of AI products and services. And it got me thinking, the same problems, challenges, and opportunities I'm going to have here in Zambia can be extrapolated across Africa. The challenges and opportunities may be greater or less depending on which country you are. And then, of course, guys, I'm Zambian in Zambia, basically in Africa, but I'm Zambian in Zambia. And I love my country. Zambia is a very straightforward country to do a lot of things, and then it's also a very complex country to do a lot of things. So some of the things will differ country to country. I hope that basically is an introduction into this. So I'll talk about everything, basically what you need. And then also, Zambia is a country that's open for business. If you're looking for a great country in Africa to come and set up your IT services business, AI business, Zambia is open for business. Just bear in mind that we are having some power deficits at the moment. So if you're going to come in to set up a power hungry operation such as AI, you need to come in with plans to have your own power generation, backup power, use solar, wind, and all these other things. So anyways, let's get to the video. So the first things first, when setting up a company in Zambia, it is relatively straightforward. The first thing you need to do, there's a place called PACRA. It stands for Patents and Companies Registration Agency. So this is where all the business registrations are done. It's the same as CIPC in South Africa, basically where companies are registered. But before you go to register a company at PACRA, there are some very simple things you need to sort out beforehand. One is the organizational structure. Are you going to be the sole shareholders, or are you going to be looking for new shareholders to come in and take up shares later on? Will you be planning on selling or transferring shares later on? All these other things. Do you really need to give your uncle, nephew, wife, niece, daughter, or anybody all those shares which have got no value at conception or initialization, but which could have value later on when your ideas are actualized? So you really do need to sit down and think about the structure and the shareholding of your business before you come in, because if you are going to allot or give out the shares on inception, and then later on you need to transfer those shares or give them up to other people later on, it does attract property transfer tax and all these other, there are tax implications, legal implications, and a whole host of other things. You also need to look at the issues of beneficial ownership of your shares and all these things. It may sound a little, okay, I may have digressed a bit, but basically before you set up your company, just think about the shareholding, the legal, the directorship, and all, whether or not you're going to be looking for new shareholders down the line, or what you're going to do with the company down the line. It will save you a lot of money in terms of taxes, that you can forego or avoid altogether, and can save you a headache when you have disagreements with shareholders, directors, and partners who you later on realize you did not actually need to bring on board. And then in things like what do they call them, things of shareholders and directors being ousted in coups and all these things, they do happen. So think about that. Anyways, enough about that. So with PACRA, this is where you're going to register your business. PACRA is among all the government statutory bodies in Zambia, PACRA is the one I love the most. They're relatively straightforward, they're extremely straightforward. There is just one problem. The most difficult thing about registering a company in Zambia is getting a name approved. So now with PACRA, when I was trying to set up my IT and AI company, one, they kept insisting that it has to have a descriptive name. So, some of the best names are the least descriptive, catchy names and all these other things. So I couldn't do that with PACRA. I basically had to have a descriptive name, and I could not put AI in the name. So I didn't get the name I wanted, but I was given a name that I proposed after quite a number of changes and iterations and all these other things. So if you're coming to Zambia and you've got a brilliant name in your mind or in your head, just know that that name may be rejected, and also that you cannot put AI in the name. So once you get through with the name clearance, the name is approved, the registration is very, very straightforward. They're just some simple, straightforward documents you need to sign, fill in and sign. You actually need to sign. They do allow digital signing now, but it has to be signed and then submitted to PACRA. And then once it's gone through the process, they will approve your business, possibly within 24 to 72 hours, if there are no problems with the documentation that you have submitted. And then once that is done, you're going to then receive an approval email, which is going to have your certificate of incorporation and your certificate of share capital. I am assuming you are going to be registering a limited company or a private company limited by shares. So it's going to come with the certificate of incorporation and the certificate of share capital. And then you're going to have a PACRA Form 3, which is the registration form, and you're going to have articles of association. So all of these things you then need to take to PACRA to have them stamped. If you don't get them stamped, you can't use them down the line for any other registrations, bank account openings, or any other type of things. So very important that you get them stamped. So that's that dealing with PACRA. It's very, very straightforward. Just remember to think through the name. The very simple, catchy names may not get approved. So you need to have names which they may request have descriptive elements in it. You can't get a name with AI and such kind of things. Think about the registration process. Ideally go with a private company limited by shares. That way your liabilities between your personal liabilities and the business liabilities are separate. You and the business are separate legal entities. Then also think about the shareholding. Do you really need to have so many people getting shares for free? A lot of times shares are supposed to be paid up or paid for, but reality is that they're usually not paid up. People are contributing capital in the form of knowledge, time, equipment, and all these other things. And then that's about that. So now the next thing that you really do need to consider before you start operations are the tax implications or your tax registrations. So here you're going to have two tax types. The first one is turnover tax. This is a very simple tax. You're just paying like 5% you're just paying a percentage of your turnover as tax monthly. 5% may sound like very little, but you need to think about it that 5% of turnover. All right, so 5% sounds like very little in terms of tax, but you need to look at things practically. If you are going to be a new business, most likely you're running at a loss. So even paying 5% of tax on your turnover is going to push you further into the red. You're going to be making bigger losses. And then also, you might not even be making that much profit. The margins could be maybe 1%, even 5% itself. So basically, turnover tax is good for small, simple businesses, but it's terrible Right. So basically, the taxes, 5% is a low tax rate if you're making reasonable margins and all. But if you're loss making and other such kind of things, 5% is an overkill. So you need to plan for that. So ideally you need to be on income tax. Income tax, at least you know your losses in the first years are a tax asset because you can carry them forward and all that other stuff. And then also you don't pay taxes if you're making losses if you're on income tax. So that you need to weigh the pros and cons of each tax type. Then the next thing also is on withholding tax. So if you're going to be doing IT services and all, you most likely are going to be engaging consultants. So if you're engaging local consultants, you need to withhold 15% withholding tax and pay to the tax authorities. If you are engaging foreign consultants, so you need to withhold 20% and pay to the tax authorities. So this money which you withhold, if the consultants have their own tax, if they have tax consultants or tax advisors, they can be able to claim that back in the form of as an advance tax or tax asset and the likes. So before you engage consultants, just advise them to engage tax advisors so that they either get some withholding tax exemptions in the form of LDDs or the likes, so that they can be exempt from withholding tax. That's if they are Zambian registered consultants or they are tax consultants in countries which have a double taxation treaty with Zambia and which allows for those exemptions. So you could actually have for consultants like from the UK who are not paying withholding tax on, or Zambian consultants who are not deducting withholding tax. So such kind of thing. So you really do need to think about this before you get into it. If not, you have to deduct withholding tax and pay to the tax authorities. Then the next thing is that if you've got employees, you need to register for pay as you earn or payee. Now there's a payee threshold which a lot of people assume that if the payee threshold is not met, then you don't need to register for pay as you earn. But that is furthest from the truth, because on payee, there's a very small tax of 0.5% skills development levy, which needs to be paid on the employees' emoluments. So you could find yourself in problems being non-tax compliant simply because you've got employees below the payee threshold who are liable for skills development levy but not pay as you earn. So these are things, this is why you really always need to consult a tax advisor. Then the next thing is VAT. So with VAT, even if you're not doing sales or you've got low sales, there's an input VAT that is claimable to VAT registered suppliers or registered taxpayers versus those who are not registered for VAT. And then also the other issues of, do you want to be an intending trader? So basically input VAT is money that you don't need to lose out simply because you're not VAT registered. So ideally being VAT registered versus not being VAT registered could be something that you really do need to think about. So before you get really into business, think about the tax implications of the business plan that you want to implement, and then register for the correct tax types, pay the correct taxes, and stay tax compliant. Taxes are not that much of a burden if they are planned for in advance. A lot of people who are having problems with the tax authorities in Zambia, it's simply because they did not plan for the taxman while they were setting up their business and all. And the next thing you need to think about is if you're going to have employees, there are a lot of statutory employee registrations that need to be done. So there's NAPSA, which stands for National Pension Scheme Authority. This is the statutory pension plan. 5% comes from the employee, 5% from the employer, and you need to have this registered if you've got employees. Then you also have NEMA, which is the National Health Insurance Management Authority. It's a national health insurance scheme. So health is wealth, guys, and very important that if you've got employees, make sure you pay for your NEMA, because I love it because it adds liquidity to the health sector in Zambia. So it has made health accessible to a lot of people who otherwise wouldn't have been able to have access to health facilities in the past. So please do that. Then you also have workers' compensation fund. So workers' compensation, this is for compulsory health compensation in case there's accidents to or from work or at work and the likes. Now, of all these, the three that I've mentioned, NAPSA and NEMA do allow you to register as and when you add on employees, whereas workers' compensation might want you to register upon registration of your business. Their argument is that the directors are working for the company. What if the directors get injured and stuff like that? It doesn't really make that much sense, because a lot of times directors are working pro bono, and they could be a director in 100 companies, directors and shareholders in 100 companies. So will you need to be paying 100 times workers' compensation for that? So this is something that I think really does need to be looked into and all. So if you are registering a company, you need to factor this in. NAPSA, NEMA, and workers' compensation might need to be done. Then there's also personal levy for the councils. It's a really, really small amount that you shouldn't find yourself in problems over and the likes. So now we're going to now talk about the IT infrastructure and the equipment that you may need. But before I get to this, there's something else that I need to talk to, and that is getting a .ai domain. So the business and the AI business that I am setting up, we found a perfect .ai domain. It's going to cost up to $10,000, guys. So please, if you really want to help me secure a really, really good .ai domain, I'll leave all the links in the description, guys. You can chip in, help me raise that $10,000, get the .ai domain. It will all make sense when the .ai domain is obtained. I won't say what it is now, because someone could just go there, outbid me, or push the price up to higher and all. But it's a really, really good .ai domain. Contacts in the description. If you want to find out more, you can even get in touch with me. I'll leave all the contacts in the description so that you can get in touch with me and help me secure that .ai domain. Yeah, so now with .ai domains, it really, this is something that a lot of people, you don't actually need a .ai domain, but having a .ai domain helps your visibility and all. Most of the big AI companies have a .ai domain, so it can make you look better than you actually are. Now, the funny thing with .ai domains is the same as a .co.zm domain in Zambia, .co.za domain in South Africa, .co.uk domain in the UK. .ai is a domain for the island. It's the British Overseas Territory of Anguilla in the Caribbean. So it's not really that all the .ai domains are AI related. Some of them, so having a .ai domain can make, does help with your AI business, but it's not necessary or mandatory. And then, like I've said, in my case, the .ai domain I want to get, it's going to cost me up to $10,000 to get it. So some names, depending on how they are, you can get them for cheaper, maybe $40, $50. And then some others you get in the thousands of dollars. And then some others you probably even spend way more than I'm hoping to spend to get the domain that I want. So that's something you should know. So now we also talk about the hardware, so the equipment and all. So if you watch the news, you know that there's really there's a US AI framework and Chinese AI framework, and a lot of this is due to US sanctions on China. So the US doesn't allow China to get certain AI equipment, the GPUs and other stuff, and then the Chinese decided to go their own route and start making their own GPUs and stuff. So us here in Zambia, the question is, which AI framework are you going to go with? Are you going to go the US route or the Chinese route? Or are you going to go both? I mean, us being here, we have access to both. We're not under sanctions or anything, so you have access to both. And you need to look at which one makes the most sense for you. If you're going to go the Chinese route, it's going to be cheaper and probably more long-term than going the US route. But if you're going the US route, you probably have access to the US market and some of the Western markets, because there's a really big split and divergence between the two. So you have to even if you're not thinking about sanctions. You have to think about sanctions, the implications of sanctions, and the likes, because you could also possibly buy sanctioned US equipment. I mean, Chinese US equipment that's sanctioned to China. You buy it, set it up here in Zambia, and then your clients are Chinese to circumvent the sanctions, and then you find yourself being sanctioned. And then, you know, being sanctioned is not a nice thing. You might have inability to travel, use certain bank and financial services, and all these other things. But at the end of the day, it does create opportunities, you know. So you don't want to create opportunities sanction busting and then being sanction busted, but it does create opportunities, you know, depending on your risk appetite, risk profile, and all these other things. So these are things that you really do need to think about. And then also you could actually just end up accidentally sanction busting and then getting caught up in sanctions. So think about those things. And then also, right now, with China no longer purchasing certain US GPUs and AI hardware, there could be discounts to that equipment which was en route to China but no longer needed in China. So, you know, there are all these sort of opportunities that you need to think about. So I won't really get too much into the hardware component now, because we're still trying to decide what we're going to be getting, how we're going to be getting it, and all. And as we get and all, I'll share in some follow-up videos and all, and then you'll be able to see. Then you also need to think about certain issues. Like right now, a lot of AI tools are free, but you need to realize that AI costs money. All right, so a lot of AI services are currently free, but you know, you have to be practical and think about these things. AI costs money, and right now, a lot of the US market is not really about profit, it's about growing shareholder value. So some of the decisions they make are impractical, in that they want to get as many users as they want on board, and then later on slap a subscription model on. So you really do need to think about these things. So look, if you're going to be using AI models and AI products, look for companies that have financial muscle. I know as a small business myself, it doesn't really make sense for me to say look for businesses that have financial muscle. I don't have financial muscle. I'm currently looking on how to raise $10,000 just to get a .ai domain. But the reality is that your business, no matter how small, is going to be using these AI products and services from big name brands. There's Gemini, there's ChatGTP, there's Qwen, there's DeepSeek, and all these other things. So the reality is that each AI query that you are using costs these companies a lot of money to run. They are setting up data centers, some are even setting up power plants. You know, there's a whole cost involved in setting up AI infrastructure in these countries. So realistically speaking, those AI companies that won't be able to make bank will probably go under or be bought up by the bigger companies and all. So my strategy is I use AI models that are from companies with deep financial muscle. So currently I use Gemini, Google Gemini, and Qwen, which is under Alibaba. So it's not set in stone, guys. Some of these probably have a few more years to go where they'll be offering free or discounted services and offerings, but at some point in time they'll come calling with subscription models that may be low cost, affordable, or extremely unaffordable. So I'm just trying to hedge my bets here and use AI services for companies that I believe have the financial muscle and will be able to absorb losses better, and then be able to have reasonable pricing models going forward. So Qwen and Gemini are my go-to, but I also use DeepSeek and a few others. I don't actually like ChatGTP, so I don't use ChatGTP. Copilot, on and off, I use it, but I don't actually like it. I've even disabled it on my computer, but I'll probably have to re-enable it, because almost everybody in my country uses Microsoft products, and then there'll probably be opportunities that using Copilot could present going forward. So you always have to be open-minded. You don't close your minds to certain things to say, I can't use this because it's by this company. I can't use this because it's from this country. Don't be closed-minded. You have to be open-minded, because I'll talk about opportunities later in this video. So basically, the question is, do I really need to purchase my own GPUs and other computer hardware, or do I just need to use cloud-based services and do everything on the cloud? So these are things that are being thought of, because you could actually set up some AI models on even things as small as Raspberry Pis, or you could actually have to purchase larger computer equipment, GPUs and the like. So these are things that will only be determined as we go along, and as we actually have a budget, a realistic budget, to say we've got X amount of money, and then should we go ham, or should we just go modest, or should we go practical, and all these other things. Ideally, I would love to go ham, but how do I go ham when I'm trying to raise $10,000 to get an .ai domain? Anyway, so that's that. Now I'm also going to talk about the issue of internet connectivity and all. So in Zambia is a place, Zambia is just, it's a place of contradiction. So in some places you can have extremely fast 5G internet speed, you have fiber in some places, you've got Starlink and all these other things. And other places you don't have access to much except for Starlink. So if you're setting up an IT company, you're going to be AI based and doing all sorts of things, you need to think about your internet. Yes, I know a lot of people say, oh, Starlink, but you need to be practical. In the IT world, even in the fintech world, backup of a backup is necessary. So ideally, you probably need to have a 5G connection, a fiber connection, a Starlink connection, and possibly any other type of internet connection, because imagine systems are down, your internet is down, Starlink is reliable, it works, but you do read about outages here and there, and then you could find yourself falling foul of the US government and being sanctioned, at which point you can't use it. So these are things that you really do need to be forward thinking and practical in your planning. So if you're going to be working in a place like Zambia, you need to have backup, and you need to go for what works: fiber, 5G, wireless, Starlink, all these things. We do have options in Zambia. One thing about Zambia is, depending on where you are, you've got options. Some of the options are ridiculous, some of the options are really, really great. So now we talk about business. So business is about seizing opportunities. So what separates entrepreneurs from non-entrepreneurs? Guys, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a former employee, but I'm now an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurship is not for everybody. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to be an employee. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to apply your mind, resources, and all in the employment of an employer. There's nothing wrong with that. So in any country you go to, you find entrepreneurs are in the minority. I know people will say, we look at things from the point of view of some distortions. When we see foreign nationals coming into Zambia and becoming entrepreneurs and all, what we forget is that a lot of these are entrepreneurs in Zambia simply because they could not be employees in their countries. The employment market in their countries is so tight and all that some of them left their countries to become employees in our countries, and then some of them saw opportunities here and then decided to become entrepreneurs. So a lot of entrepreneurs, whether the ones we see in our countries as foreign investors and all, or local investors or local entrepreneurs, a lot of people are entrepreneurs by force. They didn't actually plan to become entrepreneurs. It's that they saw opportunity where others did not, and then that's how they became the minority of entrepreneurs in our country. So there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur. I love entrepreneurs. I love employees. I love everybody. So that's something you need to know. So when you're an entrepreneur, you need to look out and around, and you see, sometimes you can identify problems that you can monetize the solution for. I'm not saying every problem needs to be monetized, because if we've got a problem of cancer in our country, it really doesn't make any sense to go out and offer highly monetized solutions for that, because some things need to have public good and shouldn't be private solutions to public problems. Like if you're looking about healthcare, water, sanitation, a lot of other things, I believe public transport needs to be run by the public in form of government and all. We've had over 30 years of private ownership of public transport, and our public transport sucks, guys. We moved from having really big buses where everybody could sit, or if you're in the middle, you could actually stand and hold the railings on top. Went to having smaller buses, which didn't have windows in most cases. Then they had to pass laws that windows are mandatory. Then we went to having seats with what they used to call a bondix, which was a modified seat in the front. And then the law came to say no bondix. So we haven't progressed with private ownership of public transport. But other countries which have public ownership of public transport, you see that there are improvements and all, or it's just that our models and laws and regulations are wrong. But anyways, I digress, guys. So one of the things you can do when you are looking at an entrepreneur is you look for problems that you can monetize the solution for. Not all the time and all, but that is something that does happen. So if you look at the fintech space in Zambia and Africa, people identified problems, which was the inaccessibility of traditional banking and financial services, and then they offered solutions to that. One of the gripes or complaints I have with a lot of fintech in Africa is that it's marketed as helping the unbanked. They're making it look like it's a charitable service that they're offering, when in actual fact, their services cost more than the banks. So if you're offering a solution, guys, just offer it as a solution. You don't need to do the charitable route or anything. You're not here to save people. You're here to offer them options and solutions to problems that they're facing, and you're going to charge them for that. Then we come to AI. So AI has offered a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. And then, you hear, I attended an AI training where, they were saying that AI is going to take your jobs in X number of years and stuff like that. And they were quoting Sam Altman and World Economic Forum, WEF, as some of the sources of their grim forecast. But as someone who works in the consulting and fintech finance space, even fintech, I use AI and I'm like, this is not going to take my job. It's just going to be a tool and an aid to make my job and work easier. And it creates opportunities. I don't see it as a threat. I see it as an opportunity for me to work better, smarter, and make more money down the line. So these are some of the things that we do need to think about. AI is here. It's going to be an aid for you and all. A lot of people are creating opportunities from AI, and a lot of people are falling for the hype and all. I have created a website using AI. So it's an AI generated website and all. And then one of the biggest things I discovered after my vibe coding is that I needed to hire some coders, actual human beings, to debug the site. I tried variations of giving the AI some prompts and commands to try and fix the errors, but I saw that you need actual coders to do some work. If you're going to be vibe coding and you're going to be creating your own apps using AI, websites using AI and all, I'll tell you one thing for free, you're going to end up hiring people to fix that. A lot of companies in the West and developed countries that have been laying off people because they were jumping on the AI hype are now hiring back those employees and all. If you're looking for AI models that work, look towards China. The Chinese are practical, and you don't hear of them, laying off thousands, millions of the likes because of AI. They are using AI to better their lot in society and all, and make money. You look at the Western models, they're just throwing out AI products after AI products and hyping it up, getting people fired, and then rehiring them back. So AI will make your life and all better. So look for opportunities that exist, look for solutions to those problems, look at how you can monetize those solutions. And then you need to also realize that one of the guys I watch talks about business and the likes. He basically explains that today's legacy systems that we're still using, you use systems today because you used them yesterday, and you're going to use the same system tomorrow because you're using it today. So if you come up and you create solutions that you are able to get a grip on or on lockdown, those systems are still going to be used tomorrow, regardless of what other system upgrades or technology exists. And simply because you have created a legacy system today that will still need to be used tomorrow and all. But anyway, guys, I have veered off a little bit here and there. So summary, so my IT AI company is registered, but there was a problem. I did not get, when you register a company in Zambia, ideally you get tax registration automatically. My company is one of the few that it had a system problem. So I need to manually register the tax registration. So that's going to happen next week. I couldn't do it because one, I did not get my documents stamped. After they registered at Pakra, I didn't get them stamped, and then I need to get them stamped documents to ZRA to get my tax registration done. And then without the tax registration, I can't proceed to get a bank account and all these other things. So the company is registered, but I don't have a tax registration, and then without a tax registration, I can't get a bank account, and then without a bank account, I can't start doing a lot of other things. And then the other thing I discovered is that the good.ai domains cost money. So right now I'm fundraising to raise $10,000, guys. Even more, guys. If I raise more than $10,000, I'll go get some serious tech, some GPUs, computer equipment, set up the office proper and all, and hit the ground running. But right now we just need $10,000 for the .ai domain. Links, donation links and all in the description. If you want to help me raise that $10,000, please do. So that's the other thing I learned. And then three, there's something that I missed. You also need to have some other statutory registrations if you're doing AI or tech work in Zambia. You need to have ZICTA registration. That's the Zambia Information Communication Technology Authority. They're the ones who regulate and manage the tech and fintech space in Zambia. Then you also need to register with ICTAS. That's this is a statutory body that you need to register if you're going to be doing tech work and stuff. I forgot to mention these earlier, but that needs to be done. And then once I've gotten the tax registration, the bank account opened, I can then proceed to ZICTA and ICTAS so that I do sign up for that. Anyway, that's about that. Do let me know in the comment section what I could have missed, what you want more clarification on. Once I pay for the .ai domain and have it, I'll share it here, because if I share it now, someone else will go get it, and someone will be wondering like, okay, why didn't I think of that? And someone else will get it, and then I'll be in some other issues. So that's something that I'm going to talk about. And then I also share the name of the company and all, and then I also talk about if we start getting business and all, how that is going and all these other things. But without your comments, questions, and queries, I won't be able to fully answer them in future follow-up videos. So let me know, guys, so that I can share the whole process with you. Some of you may become my competitors, but the market is big enough for everyone to have a slice of cake. When you have information that can help others, it doesn't really help you just keeping it to yourself. You will probably make more money and all. You might even be balling out of control. But at the end of the day, sharing information means that more people can probably be balling out of control together. More people can eat or have a slice of the cake. The cake is usually big enough and there's enough slices, but it's just that people get bigger slices and get greedy and all. Hoarding of wealth and hoarding of knowledge, information is something that I don't agree to. I'm a capitalist with socialist inclinations. So I do like capitalism. I do believe it does help a lot of things, but I do believe that a lot of things actually need to be more or less under the collective than the individual. Anyways, I have digressed straight off the righteous path and all, but thanks for watching to the end here. Thanks for donating or contributing towards getting that .ai domain that I'm aiming for. Thanks for the subscription, the likes, the comments, and everything. And I'll see you next week in the follow-up video. By next week, I will have gotten the tax registration done. I will have gotten the ZICTA registration done. The ICTA's registration I may or may not do by next week, because we are almost at the end of the year, and then that's an annual membership. So why would I pay for an annual membership with 2 months to go? So this is some of the things we'll talk about. Then I'll also talk about some of the other challenges and opportunities that I'll see along the way. And then I'll share some of the ideas and or what I'm working on, because I'm going to be working on some fintech products. So I don't believe in fintech, that is, the deposit taking fintech offerings, because those are heavily regulated and all. I believe more in fintech that are subscription based and offer solutions to existing problems, and people should be able to subscribe to, and I can make money off of. So these are some of the things that we will be talking about, or I will be talking about. Then I also hope to bring in some people who I believe are experts in AI, fintech, and all these other things, so that we can talk and share their knowledge and information. Then I also do plan and hope to host some AI get-togethers, where people can come in with their laptops and the likes. We can come in, share information, they can ask queries, and then we can have live demonstrations and all, so that they can be able to learn and implement things. So those are some of the things we'll be working on, working with, and trying to do. So for now, the first video in this series. Thanks for watching this far. Your comments, your likes, thumbs up, likes, comments, subscriptions, and especially the comments, guys. I need those queries. What do you want to see in next week's video, as I'm setting up this registered company into phase 2 and all? So I'll see you in the next one. Thanks and bye.